Y'all in the winning circle, shot some squares though. You in the killing fields, ignoring the scarecrows. Yeah, ho, I'm Benny Blanco in the last scene, making the power play high off for caffeine. This is a tag team, fantasy the bad dream. The male version of Kerry killing the class queen. Bati bloggers quit dodging my emails. Take that whack shit off, the real prevail.
Welcome to FreeLunch Podcast, home of the New South Movement and the New South Movement Network. This is your boy Tight, one half of the FreeLunch Podcast duo, BG.
Hey, you say New York City.
We here.
BG, the 27 Kid FreeLunch Podcast. Yes.
Man, BG, let the people know where we at.
Man, we are in the greatest city in the world, New York City.
In the legendary
Engine Room Studio. I love it. A lot of people we look up to in the podcast game come here and do work. So I guess it's saying something for us to be here. Doing what they do. Just trying to figure this thing out, though.
We really is.
We
trying to find our own strive in the podcast game. But we got a special guest, and I'm gonna let you bring her in because she deserves the proper introduction. But we're extremely proud to have a Brooklyn native to be able to bless this podcast and join the other catalog of interviews that we've had.
Well, one thing that needs to be known is when we do these FreeLunch Podcast episodes, we having fun because we get an opportunity to talk to people that are impactful, they're inspirational, and they are people that we look up to, heroes in every sense of the words. What we have today is a cultural icon for what we know as hip hop, which has been very influential to us, coming up. That's all we know, from the music to the dance and definitely to the fashion. And those are kind of the elements of what hip hop is. And so we have a trendsetter here, someone that has really taken the game by the neck and really done it the way that it should be done. We've been following her. OMG. And it gets better and better and better. OMG.
Really appreciate you coming through.
We got the.
How you doing? Thank you.
You're welcome. Love.
Internet.
Love it.
Oh man,
Right.
We got
It's
the
a
legendary.
Family affair. That's
from
what's
having
up.
one legend to having three legends. New York City is definitely in the building right now.
All right.
Thank you a lot.
This is
Podcast
big.
is
Now
a
you got
blessing.
a lot of Brooklyn in the house.
No,
We
just
just
getting
getting
started. So
right
you
on time.
Y'all
right
came
on
right
time.
on time.
But yeah, so as what we were saying is we were just introducing this person. At the end of this interview, you will know her better. But if you GTS, as we like to say, Google that shit, walk aware, and you'll know exactly what it is and what we're here to do. So we're just gonna cut to it.
Yeah, let's cut right to
We
it.
be blessed, man. We're blessed to have in the building Miss April Walker.
Yeah.
Hi. Thank you.
How you feeling?
I
How
feel real good. I feel real good. You know, I went through the catalog, listened, and I really love this show. You doing quality work, so I feel good about being here.
I
We
appreciate
take pride in that. That's kind of one of the things that we set out to do when we started doing this podcast is to really, as Tight always likes to say, create a catalog and time stamping people that are, making their stamp on the culture and doing things that lift people up. So to have this opportunity and for you to be as willing to do that from day one, people to let you know this started with Instagram.
Yeah.
It started with us. It started with us reaching out with a direct message in Instagram, and from that moment, she really was willing to support this movement. So you'll see exactly what the soul is behind this brand.
It will, but before we even jump into that, I do want to take this time and just acknowledge the godfather of podcasting, someone that we look up to and really has been an inspiration for what we've been doing here with our own network, the New South Movement Network, and using his kind of model to kind of jumpstart what we're doing. And I want to take this time to introduce, you all know, Combat Jack, and I like his phrase, internets. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to give Comeback a quick moment to kind of say something on the mic.
Listen, man, first of all, thanks for having me on here, and I apologize for being rude and And
Nah.
April, it's like Lil Mama. Snatching somebody.
Can't get the mic.
You know what I'm saying?
Kanye, I'm gonna let you talk, but
Yeah, all of that. But I just want to thank y'all for reaching out to me. I apologize for not reaching back. And when my lady told me y'all stopped by the bakery yesterday, I was like, you know what? Let's go surprise them. And so that was our intent to come here and surprise y'all. And please have a great interview with April. And then whatever little bits afterwards, man, I'll jump in. All right.
Oh, definitely.
it's a family affair.
Yes, sir.
It
Yes, sir.
definitely is.
Definitely. And don't be nervous, y'all.
No.
Don't be nervous.
We kind of got.
It's amazing. It's just amazing that even at the level with the acclaim that you all have, that community and that sense of family is real, and to be kind of a part of it, I guess we would be recipients of kind of the energy that you all give off. It's just amazing.
I mean, y'all
it
sitting
speaks a
in my
lot.
spaceship. Y'all recording from the guts of the engine room audio. This is my spaceship. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, we all family, man.
Power transfer.
Yes, sir.
Power transfer.
Yeah, here you go.
Power transfer.
But Combat, thank you for coming through. Thank you, Combat Jill. Likewise for coming through.
And this was a really, really nice surprise for me because this is family right here. So it was, I had no idea they were coming. So that's cool.
Man, the more the merrier.
Yeah, but like I was saying earlier, April, we like to kind of just walk through
Let's do it.
your entire story because it's really inspirational.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, just from our research and just from learning more about you, we learned that your dad was really into music.
Right.
And we really just wanted to start from there as far as giving us some background on the influence your father played into your life and really helping you get into the clothing industry, et cetera.
My father was very inspirational because he was an entrepreneur and literally danced to his own beat. He always was in love with music. I grew up on a lot of jazz. In the beginning, he worked with a lot of the greats, Renee McLean, Jackie McLean, McCoy Tyner, Gary Bartz. A lot of those guys, Hubert Eves that produced D-Train and Luther Vandross and a lot of those guys, those were all his buddies and his music comrades. So, that's what I grew up, my element. And so watching that, I think there was this creative energy that was always in my home. And I didn't really understand that I was harnessing it till later on when I got into fashion. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I decided I wanted to do fashion, everyone thought I was crazy. I'd taken the corrections test and the police department and the fire department test, and I was in college. I hated school. It was a lot of stuff going on. I was just rebelling in a lot of different senses. And then that's funny. I was taking the corrections test, but I couldn't imagine doing that. But at that time, it was in the 80s. So it was like, you did this or you did that. And there were few options, so to speak. You always had options, but the safe things were city jobs and state jobs and things like that. Mm-hmm. So I did those just to cover the bases while I was in school. And I remember I got called for the fire department and corrections when I'd signed my first lease to Fashion in Effect. And my mother was so happy. She was like, "Oh, you got a great job." I'm like,
not feeling it.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. And I would just remember everybody telling me like, "You're messing up." And my father was the only one like, kick rocks, go for your dream,
You said something there that I was listening to and I wanted to ask you. Like, I'm from Alabama, born and raised in Mobile. BG's from Selma. And back during that time period, we didn't have a chance to really understand the culture and what was happening in Brooklyn back in the 80s. And I mean, the only thing we know is what we've seen on American,
we were babies.
On American Gangster, Frank Lucas story, or what we've seen on documentaries. But can you kind of just set the tone of how the environment was, what the culture was like?
Oh, it was crazy. It was crazy. So we were coming out of the Reaganomics whole thing, and the crack era was live in the 80s. And so you had this influx of hustlers. You had on the streets, you had at any given day, you could be at Bentley's and see Mike Tyson with a hustler, with you could see, New York City corrections officers hanging out. It was just like a mishmash of so many different people hanging together, in the streets, and the money was flowing in so many different directions in New York. But at the same time, you had this other element of just walking zombies on the street, because it was tearing apart our neighborhoods. So it was crazy, but it was definitely a time where you could make a lot of money. And if you were smart and opportunistic, you could really set up your blueprint for the future. Because in disparity, I find in those kind of times, that's when there is a lot of opportunity if you can figure it out. But at the same time, there are a lot of people that unfortunately get left behind and hurt. And the 80s did that. And I think we're still seeing the repercussion of it.
So growing up, you kind of talked about, your father's influence, living within his creativity, and it kind of passed down to you. So were you curious as a child?
You know what? I remember one time my father, it was the bicentennial. And I think he always wanted us to be entrepreneurial. He had us in dance lessons and singing lessons. I remember he was trying to make me a DJ and all this stuff, that I knew I didn't want to do music. I took vocal lessons and stuff like that, but I didn't want to do music. My sister did music. She actually, ended up singing, that's what she does. But I have not a singing. I cannot sing.
Can't do it.
No,
Huh?
not
Can't
even
do it.
try. But he wanted one of us to be a musician. So my sister, one of them did the drums, and one of them they were in a group together,
Jacksons,
all kinds of stuff.
Jackson-like.
Exactly. Right. So I was not down with that. But what I did do is pick up his entrepreneurial spirit. So he was a solopreneur. I just got into the hustle. I saw what he was doing, and I started figuring out I don't want to work for somebody. So I remember my first venture was as teaching gymnastics, because I did gymnastics. So I was like 13, and I remember going to Cadman's church and asking them if I could use their basement on Friday nights and charge like $5 a head, and I was getting paid at 13.
So
and so then I saw from there, like, okay, this could work. And then at 15, my father took me to the bicentennial, I think, 16, 15, and we made a silk screen from pearl paints. We did the design, we made the shirts, and we sat in like hundreds and hundreds, and we did them, and we went out there and hustled them, and we came home with like, and I just remember
the seed was planted.
Seed was planted. So he was always dropping little things like that just to let me know, see, you could do things. So,
but at the time, even though he was planting the seed.
Oh yeah, he was always embarrassing me because he was
right.
different. So, different when you're young, you're like the guy that comes up with the afro that looks like the terrorist. That's how you feel.
Yeah.
It's like in school and stuff, and he just looked like super fly. He didn't care, and he would say stuff, and you'd be like, But now you appreciate it, because now I'm not afraid to be who I am, and I can appreciate it now. But when you're a little kid in school and most people are following the norm, it's just, it's a different thing when you're a kid now.
Growing up, you'll say, okay, when I grow up, I want to be this. Did you ever get to that point?
Never
had that.
Never.
You were open.
Never.
What type of student were you, April?
You know what? It's funny. I went to Brooklyn Tech my first year. I'll be honest, I got kicked out as a truant. And at 6 months in, I
knew you got kicked out?
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
I did.
okay.
But you know what? I passed the test. I went there. I tried it. My mom wanted me to go because it was a really good school, but it was very technical in terms of the application and their learning process. And I didn't want it. I'm creative, so that whole rigid, I just wasn't with it. And so I rebelled and just stopped going. And so, I told my mom half the semester, I don't want to go here. And she was like, just try it another 6 months. So I just didn't go. And so finally she was like, okay, I get it. So, she transferred me to Bishop Laughlin, and she walked me to school every day for 4 months because she was like, I'm paying for this. And I knew it. She didn't have to walk me to school. If she was paying for it, I graduated as honor society and peer group leader and all of that. But, I was good in school. I wasn't good in a lot of other ways, but I was good in school.
So you graduate and then you go off to, where'd you go?
New Paltz.
New Paltz. Okay. And study communications.
Yep. Communication and business. Yep.
But I see some of those characteristics, just how you, with your Walker Gems and your social media presence, the connection.
Right.
That social media marketing, marketing communications degree.
I didn't graduate. I left my junior year and started Fashion in Effect.
Okay.
I left.
Your junior year.
Yeah.
Okay, you left your junior year, but then you worked at American Express for a little while. How long were you over at American Express?
A year.
A year?
Just I saved up a lot. I saved up. I hated that. It's I hate saying that. You know what's crazy about this? Because I thought about this, and I don't like things to come back and bite you in the butt. But it's so funny. I just did an American Express open forum last year, and I was like, I gotta stop saying American Express. But no, I love American Express. I hated the experience of working there at what I did at the time. And it wasn't anything against American Express because it was probably a great job. A lot of people had been there for 16 years. Had careers there. I just wasn't built for a corporation, and I saw that very early. So for me, it was like grueling going to work because I didn't like answering the phones all day and talking to rich people about their bills. And that's what it was. It was customer service and marketing in that sense. So you had a lot of obnoxious people as well as nice people, but I just wasn't built for it.
And that's one of the things that we talk about a lot on this show and in previous episodes is about like living your truth and being open to those things that are outside of the box, because, a lot of times we're in these situations to where our family and friends are influencing us and they say, you would be good at this, but it doesn't really speak to who you are, to your core, to your desires and your passion. To hear you say that once again confirmed.
I tried so many different things before I really found, I was young, but I was just swinging. I think I say swinging with aim now because I'm more focused, but I think when you're young, you're still figuring it out. So you're just swinging. I just think you got to have movement forward and you'll fall in and figure it out.
And embracing the freedom to do that and not restricting yourself.
And that's where my parents played a big part because they allowed me to be very free, to even take it further back. I came from a very, I didn't have the normal parents. Like my mother is Native American and Mexican and my father is Black and Indian and we got a little bit of everything else probably mixed in. So I traveled a lot when I was young. He made sure to show me a lot. And then, my first year of school was Uhuru Sasa, which was a militant school on Claver Place, and it was a whole nother world that opened my eyes to probably my foundation now. You know what I mean? I met a lot of family there. But I just thought differently from very early on,
We touch on that a lot, especially even for me, because I kind of reflect over my entire experiences as well. And the thing that I really think was that Kairos moment for me was when I had an opportunity to travel over to Europe at a very young age. And I remember the quote where they say you're only as limited as the land you see.
Right.
So the more you travel and the more that you see more of the land, the more you dream, your vision becomes broader and it's not limited to just your city or wherever you're from. So I can kind of connect with that statement.
It's true. And the other thing about it is if you can't travel, I just can't tell everybody how important books are. But me and my father were talking about that yesterday, and it's just like, audibles are great, but something about reading that your imagination is just ignited that much more, so when you read, you're imagining that place, and it just really besides just learning something, you're activating your imagination. So
were you reading a lot back then?
Not like I do now.
Let's talk about when you just decided to make that jump. American Express wasn't for you. You didn't like the structure. Right. You didn't like the big corporation feel. So you what happened? Just one day you say, "Hey, I'm done with this." You just,
No,
you just
I-
call them and send them a resume, say bye.
No, I started mapping a plan because I was saving my money. By that time, I'm sure by that time I had been introduced to Dapper Dan, and Dapper Dan was this custom tailor shop in Harlem. It was a 24/7 spot, and I just really, once I walked in that store, I was just floored because he had this enterprise that was making, I said ghetto fabulous, but it was just like, what did he say? He blackenized it. That's what he did.
Yeah.
You know, he made these outfits that were off the chain. And I remember one time Diane Dixon, a friend of mine, she bought a full length mink, and then it was reversible. The other side was Louis Vuitton. And this is the 80s, you know, so it's like, that's the kind of stuff he was doing. I remember going in there, I started asking him, like, what's the cheapest thing in here? And he was like, a velour sweatsuit. This is like 83 something. He's like, the velour sweatsuit was $300 to start, a plain velour with nothing on it. So 382, 83. So you know what that's like right now. Probably 1,000, you know? So it's like, he wasn't playing. And so I was the one thing I was off about was Brooklyn and Harlem. Their money was a lot different back then, you know, in terms of what that could command. But he ignited the creative engine to say, this is the path I'm going to take, and this is what I'm going to do, because clearly at that time, more than anything, boroughs still counted. So Harlem was a lot different than Brooklyn. Queens was a lot different than Brooklyn, and you know, every element, style wise, LA was a lot different, you know, the East, the West, all of that counted. So I was like, I'm going to carve out my niche.
Did he allow you to actually spend some time shadowing the process?
No.
Okay.
That was all like,
just taking it.
I Spy, who
got
am
you.
I, you know,
I got
at
you.
that time. And I actually ended up with a few of his tailors, and just starting it out like that.
What were you wearing? What was someone from Brooklyn wearing compared to someone from Harlem and Queens? Kind of paint the scene for those that, like I said, we're from the South, so.
That's debatable, because
That's
Harlem
debatable.
will always debate with me on this. But for me, Harlem was always very flossy in terms of, and they still are. You know? I just mean, like, you know, it's funny. I was up at a basketball game about 2 summers ago, and dude had on some yellow sneakers, and that's Harlem. Like, they're not afraid to do certain things that Brooklyn cats just probably would not do. And that's what's special about Harlem. Whereas Brooklyn cats have a certain cool about them that you just know they're from Brooklyn. You know what I mean? And that's the main difference. I think we're a lot more earth tones, darker, muted. Just don't take me too far here to here, but just make sure that I look good. You know what I mean? And we like classics. Like, we're not going to go for the, purples and maybe purples, but not yellows and reds.
Go ahead.
Jump in, come back.
Jump in.
You know, and I guess you guys can I guess connect with this. Harlem was definitely more of a player style,
Right.
but very Southern influence.
I got you.
You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
And whereas Brooklyn was more middle class meets West Indian immigrant, so it was a combination of that. So they were like Harlem. I was shaking my head because I could never get with the Harlem style. Cause like, nigga, you too loud,
Loud and boisterous.
you too loud. Like, and so that, you know, that was always the difference between, still to this day, between Harlem cats and Brooklyn cats. We just want to be cool. You're gonna see us, but we don't want to be the loudest.
So Harlem, are they wearing the alligator?
The mink, it was the mink, the minks, AJ Lester's, all of that.
No, you're right.
Nah.
That's exactly what it was. And it's just different, man. He said it best. It was like Southern meets, loud player, you know, and that's what it was. And, we were different. I think we had a reserve about us.
You talk about that, but I also read that you have some other influences, as it relates to fashion. Willie Smith.
Willie Smith
Miss
was
Nelda.
a big one. And Miss Nelda. That's right. So let me start with Nelda, because Nelda, passed away last year, about a year ago already. But Nelda lived on the corner of my block, and Nelda was a little older than me. But Nelda was the first, you talk about player, that was just like the girl from the hood that everybody looked up to. That's where Little Kim, if a lot of people don't know, got her style from. And a lot of her style. Little Kim was from my neighborhood. And so the wigs, the furs, all the different color furs. Nelda did all of that first, and she looked up to that. And like a lot of us did in Brooklyn. And I think Nelda set trends. She was one of those chicks that just didn't care. I remember one night my sister was coming home. My nephew had to be about 5 years old. She had the ears of, like, she could hear blocks away, Nelda. And she must have been across the street down the block, and she had a mohawk, a fire, like a yellow, like a peacock yellow mohawk this time. And she was crossing the street. She was across the street down the block. And my sister said my nephew was about 5, and he said, "Mommy, her hair is yellow," And he was talking kind of low. But however she heard it, she yelled across, "Yeah, that's right, my hair is yellow." And he was so paralyzed and blue. And my sister came home laughing, telling me. And that was Nelda, God bless her. She was just really good people. And I would see her at all the clubs. And she would be, she was about 90 pounds wet, but she had on truck jewelry and, she was special. So she taught me about taking chances
and not being afraid.
And Willie Smith was just one of those that first guys that I saw that he was doing it in a big way. And something that I would wear, and I wore a lot of that stuff in junior high school and high school, and I loved Willie Smith and just how he mixed patterns and did his own thing, and he made it to the department store status. So he was someone I looked up to.
Those were some of your influences, but even talk about when you went to the Run DMC concert and even your connection with Jam Master Jay.
I remember Fresh Fest just changing the game for me in terms of, a further confirmation of hip hop on the whole and just where I was headed. And when I went one year and saw them at the Garden and those leather pants and the whole get up they used to wear. And I just was like, the whole concept of dress for success was out the door for me. It was just like, that's bull, you seeing them on stage winning. And so it was this whole market that wasn't really being tapped into, but it was just not for us. I was going to create something that spoke to us, for us, by us, before that whole FUBU came around. I just wanted to create clothing for my people. And so that's what Fashion in Effect was and how we started out. And it was things like listening to them. That was the biggest thing. They wanted deeper pockets. They wanted things that didn't exist in the marketplace at that time. There weren't, one thing I kept hearing from customers is they couldn't fit their hands in their pockets in their Calvin Kleins.
Yeah.
So I had to create more space, pocket space. Then, once Jay became a customer, he said, make them even deeper, because nobody was making stash pockets. So that's how stash pockets, we started making those. Another thing was I made the illusion of baggy pants, but I didn't. So my pants fit the waist. The 36 was a true 36, but what I did was drop the crotch a few inches.
Thank you.
And then I actually, because guys said they wanted more breathing room at that time. And then the other thing I did was drop the bottom of the pant, your back pockets. Instead of having them up, I dropped those 7 inches below the yoke, so that it had the illusion of having a sagged pant, but it wasn't. It was just lower pockets, So those are the kind of things I did. And then listening to them, none of them could fit over their Timbs. So I made sure the bottoms were bootlegs, So those are the kind of changes I made then that ended up sticking,
Just imagine life without those type of adjustments to jeans. It'd be miserable for us out here in these streets.
Well, they don't went back to the skinny jeans.
Because,
though, BG.
well, but I don't wear them. I can't get in skinny. But with you doing that, that changes the whole thing. And then it makes it noted that there is a different need for us in our community. And then everybody else, of course, starts to copy that. But man, without those adjustments, life would be terrible for me in the jean category for sure. At Fashion and Effect, you were doing custom pieces.
A lot of custom.
And you were like 21 or so when you jumped that off.
I started and I made a lot of mistakes, but I think that the thing was luck was on my side and the opportunity, because it was a void in the marketplace. So I didn't know, to be honest, I did not know what I was doing. But it's funny, I'm reading this book, Crazy is a Compliment, and it's confirming some things that I specifically think right now. Like, I think business plans are out the door somewhat. And this book talks about it a lot, but, I didn't really start with a plan. I knew I had a vision. And I did do a rough plan, but not like intense. A lot of it was figuring it out in the beginning. But what happened was, when the people embrace you and the opportunity is there, then you can really mold the plan from there. And you always have to tweak a plan. I don't care if you have a great plan. Life will treat you differently, and you'll see another opportunity may arise from your plan and something. So, with that said, I had more success than the mistakes. So that covered me. I was thankful and blessed in that way.
Where were you selling? Did you have a shop back then, or what was? Can you kind of just give some background as to?
What we made. We did everything then, because, like I said, the climate. It was the 80s. I started my first shop in 87. And so, and I've been debate with it was 87. And with that shop, we did a lot of leather. We did a lot of sequence. Sequence was big back then.
The leather, is that the Brooklyn thing?
I think, no, that was New York.
That was just
period.
New York.
Yeah,
period.
New York.
Okay.
Everybody was doing leather. Queens, you see Run DMC. Leather was big, but that was also like a representation of you had money if you had leather. And if you had butter leather, you really were doing it, lambskin and stuff like that, it just, you knew the difference with, is that pig suede leather? What kind of leather is that? Depending on the leather, you knew
what the status
the pockets were.
Yeah.
So we did all of that. We could give you this or we could give you that. And then we had, a lot of custom. We did a lot of knockoff stuff in the beginning. So we did Polo, we did Gucci, we did Fendi, we did Nike, we did everything, you could get with this MCM. And then we did, and I made all of that stuff right there, out of my basement and silk screened all of that stuff. And then, we used to ship to detail spots in Chicago and stuff for their cars and their interiors. But then I saw DAP getting in trouble and I stopped doing that and I started doing original stuff, and that's how I got into my own designs, and one design stuck, and that was my rough and rugged suit. It was a bull denim suit that had contrast top stitching, and it was this one suit with 3 pockets on the jacket and the lower sag pockets on the back, and everybody from like the crossover video in EPMD to Run DMC to Russell on Def Comedy Jam, they just started asking for that same suit. So that's how the formation of Walker Wear started.
You talked about, the community and knowing all these different individuals. So when you open, like the first day, were people kicking down your door to get what you were offering, or was it a process?
No. So if you want to open a business, notice you will go out of business if you count on your family and friends. I'm going to say that again.
That's a great point.
That's a good point.
If you want to go out of business, you will go out of business if you count on your family and friends. That's just a fact. And I would love for somebody to prove me wrong on that. But I think that you have to look at it. For me, it was a destination spot. Most of the people was word of mouth, and it was service that I was giving, and it was for someone that wanted something different. So that traveled fast. So my premise was quality. and giving them something really different that would last. And to this day, I have people that hit me on Facebook like, I still have my son's outfit from, the 80s in a box. That makes me feel good, though, that it didn't fall apart and rot on them, So that's the kind of stuff that, we did those things. We took a lot of pride in quality and just making something that was really different. That would be a showstopper. Those are the kind of pieces we tried to make.
Let's talk about some of the relationships, though. You mentioned EPMD, and how did those relationships start? How did you start making those connections and getting them to kind of wear your material?
Wait a minute. Let me jump in. I got a poem for that.
You got a poem?
Yeah, I got a poem. It's a classic. It's a classic. So I want you to take a couple lines, and I just kind of want you to tell me kind of what comes to mind. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Milk is chilling. Years is chilling. What more can I say?
Top billing.
That's what we get. Got it good. Since you understood, would you stop scheming and looking hard? I got a great big bodyguard, so step up if you
That's
want
right.
to get
That's
hurt.
So what comes to mind when you hear those lines?
Them walking in my store. It was Guy, it was Milk, and I don't know, Light might have been there.
That's MC Light.
Mm-hmm. And it was in the 80s, and they wanted to do their album cover for I Don't Care. And I just remember at that time, Shinehead and Shaggy, I give them a lot of props because they were frequent in my store. Those were the two Brooklyn cats that were coming. So I had a lot of love from the Caribbean hookup. Wow. Yeah, so it was Brooklyn. Brooklyn was a small circuit at that time. So we did support each other, and so they were coming. And then I don't know, I started hanging out and just doing a lot of networking, and I was hanging out with Swatch, who was a dancer at that time, and she was cool with Light, and I ended up in a video, and then from that video they came to the store and they said, we want you to make the clothes for our album cover. And I was like, sure, I could do that. And I was like,
so you didn't even you didn't even question that, because that was the first time you probably doing something that.
You always keep a cucumber face, but I made sure that I did it, and I did it on time, and I made sure it was fly, and it worked out, And then that opened the door. And then from there, they loved them, and they were like, okay, we want you to style a video. And I was like, sure, I could do that. Like looking up styling, right. And you fake it till you make it. And that's how we did, and I started styling their videos, and it worked. Like I said, it was lifestyle. I knew the lifestyle. I knew what people wanted. I just needed that open door.
What was your process for styling?
I had a process.
You had a process.
Yeah, I wasn't one of those stylists like, okay, put you in this and that. I wanted to meet you. I remember with some of the artists, if we were lucky enough, most of them we didn't get, unless we were cool with them, we would get to them and we would get to see their whole closet. Mm-hmm. But a lot of them, we'd ask them to bring their favorite outfits. And we'd ask them like what their vibe was like. We want to actually sit like this and meet you and talk to you, so we could, like, I got your vibe right now. You know what I mean? I have a sense of you. You just talk to me about your background. You're from DC and all that good stuff. So I kind of drew some elements, but you want to hear what, as an artist, I wanted to hear their music too. I wanted to listen to what they were doing and talk to them about what they envisioned, because then you're painting a picture, and you want them to be comfortable when they're wearing the clothes, because I believe if people aren't comfortable, it shows in the pictures. And no matter how fly the outfit might be, if they're stiff or insecure, that's going to come across. So I believe in stretching them a little outside of their comfort zone, but not like all the way to the wall, where I see that in pictures now. And I'm just like, okay, the NBA is doing that a lot. That stylist is doing the same thing for all of these different NBA players, and they look the same to me. It just looks like carbon copy. That's not fly to me. Give them their own unique look.
So you would sit them down, listen to the music, get a sense for what you thought, and even
I
look
wanted
at
them to have their own personalities that fit them. So the same way you hear the music and the music is different, I wanted your look. You know, Tretch had that big chain. And, you know, that was him. And he had a mechanic suit that was a one piece, and he was known for that. And we made sure that was him, you know. So everybody did something different. Onyx did the whole Dickies and that whole look, and that was them.
Who are some of the other MCs that you worked with?
Run DMC, EPMD, Queen Latifah, Redman, Method Man.
Legends, just dropping legends.
I could go on. Rex and Effect, Teddy Riley, Blackstreet, R. Kelly, Aaliyah, Fishbone,
to support,
Red Hot Chili Peppers, a lot of people. Yeah.
Wow.
At this point, you're kind of getting into it. You're finding a groove, a niche, and you've had some success.
Right.
But one of the things I think that always balance the success, especially when you're stepping out and being an entrepreneur and taking this, taking it on your own. What were those nights like when you were designing? Was it all lavish or was it?
Oh, no. See, no one sees the grind, and the grind is probably 95% of the time, right? So you guys probably had to come here and set up and get ready for this and do some things and test stuff out and make sure it's right, get the water, all that kind of stuff.
We brought out the fine china this time because usually,
even homegrown is a process though, right? Even in the process, it's people don't understand the process is where the magic happens, and that's the messy middle. No one wants the messy middle. They want the beginning, the idea, and they want the end, the accolades, the glory, and the pictures. But no one wants to do the work. And the work is where it counts. So that's the jewel and the gem I have for everybody listening to this. If you have a dream, it's beautiful. But dreams don't become real, and the vision doesn't get carried without the work. So you got to be a worker bee in order to make it count. And the biggest thing about success is that they're doing the things that most people won't do.
Right.
So me being here Saturday morning at 9:30 a.m.
Thank you.
You know what I mean?
So
I'm just saying it's real talk. You know what I mean? No diva. It is what it is. Let's go. You know what I mean? Because it's a symbiotic relationship. We're helping each other, and that's what it should be. But more people need to understand that work ethic. If they really want it, you can say you want it, but do you really want it? And so, I got that very early on.
And I even coined a phrase of my own that kind of aligns with what you were just saying. We need more verbs, meaning you have a lot of nouns, adjectives.
Right.
A lot of people can be person, places, or things, but they can't put it in motion.
Right.
If you want to sing. You see what I'm saying? If you want to, whatever it is you want to do, you have to put it in action.
Absolutely.
And you have to become a verb. You have to become a verb and not just talk about it or be that adjective or that noun. So that kind of is something that kind of aligns. It kind of aligns with what you were just saying.
Absolutely.
What was it that pushed you from doing the shop having fashion and effect to actually moving to having your own brand?
That rough and rugged suit was probably one of the first confirmations. It was a denim suit that I did, and it was a mainstay that everyone kept asking for over and over, and it started popping up in videos and on album covers, and it was the same thing. So when you're paying attention, you see, okay, maybe there's something here. And everybody started saying, have you ever done a trade show? And I was afraid to do trade shows because it was me and my dream team, but we were doing custom at that time. So there was something called the Nomsby show, and it was in Manhattan, and it was this big show at the Jacob Javits convention. And this is now maybe about 90, 91. And I was like, but I remember we rented, there was a place I was doing a lot of work with Motown at that time, and Motown had a corporate hotel they used called the Flat Hotel, because I remember Belle Biv DeVoe and New Edition at that time. All of those guys, they all used to stay there. So we rented a suite there, and all of the rooms were suites, and we wigged it out, and we invited 10 buyers because we didn't want to do the show because we were afraid, what if we get a bunch of people asking on the floor and we can't fulfill those orders? So let's just test it out. And the Flat Hotel was right near, close to the Jacob Javits. It wasn't far. And so we invited 10 buyers. At that time, it was, you guys won't know this, but it was Simon's, which was like the store in Brooklyn. They were in Brownsville. It was Dr. J's, Merry-Go-Round. I don't know if you guys remember Merry-Go-Round. They had mega stores in all the malls. And it was just stores like that. Coda. We invited 10 stores. I'm trying to think who that would probably be, like your Hot Topics and your Journeys and guys like that now. But anyway, they all came. They all came and Jam. And by that time, I'd been doing all kinds of guerrilla marketing stuff to get them there. You know, I'd been calling all the stores every day, like, you got that walkaway, you got that walkaway. So they're thinking the kids are asking and and then we were already in video, so that helped us, you know. And that trick was just off of watching Def Jam. I was always at Def Jam offices and saw that's what they did for the records. So I was doing it for the clothes, you know. And so it worked. And they came, and when they came and what happened was Jay came. He came through like a champ. So he made sure he was there, and he wore the rough and rugged suit, and he wore the Scully. And he was like, you need this in your life, you know? So we sold that day, and, you know, we had opposition because at that time, you know, I was in my early 20s and I was in some shell toes, and I was selling velour sweatsuits too at that time. And they were like, why should I pay $100 and something for your velour sweatsuit? And Feline costs the same price, you know? So they, you know, that's the kind of stuff that I had to deal with and say, because this is going to be that shit, you know?
And you bring up that name, Jam Master Jay, and he's one man. His name comes up in a lot of other people's stories.
Right.
As it relates to how he helped them, how he influenced them. You know, when we were at A3C, Shamani was talking about how Jay took him under his wing, introduced him to books and different things. So he was really, you know, one of those guys that was, you know, identifying, I guess, talent, or whoever was willing to approach him and was willing to help in whatever capacity that he could. Definitely a bridge builder for sure.
Yeah, in the beginning, he was a big part of the foundation. Jay, I met Jay at Kilimanjaro's, and I think the next day he called and asked for us to style one of the videos, and we ended up styling Run DMC for years and working with him, and we became good friends. But he was also very one of the motivators and one of the cheerleaders to say, you should do your own line, because everyone keeps asking for the same stuff.
After that, you had those 10 buyers in that suite room. You sell over what, $300K worth of material that day. I mean, you essentially go from this small, you know, one small custom shop to now you're finna start producing on a mass scale.
Right.
You know, what is that moment like? And then what happens after that one moment?
Wow, that was the day that everything changed.
Exactly.
The day that everything changed.
It is, because just think about it, and I even do this. Everybody wants to, everybody wants to have that certain level of success, or even the person that wins the Powerball and gets that 1.5 billion, right? You wait on that day to come, but when that day gets here, it's like, okay, now what? Because it's real. I mean, that's when,
like,
as they
more
say,
money, more problems.
Exactly.
No, it was good. It was great. But, you know, it changes because now you're not just a custom business, right? I'm in the real retail business, and retail is just a different beast.
That's a different monster.
A different monster. It's really a different monster now, but then it was probably a lot better than it, because there were a lot more brick and mortars that existed, and people didn't have the internet. So your only way of doing business was through going to the stores. But for us, a lot of the one-on-one in the person, you know, we gave a lot of service to people and customized and really got to know them and built these relationships. As we grew, we we had to learn how to build the relationships through our salespeople with the retailers, more than just writing paper, right? Because you have to really develop really good relationships, because in sales, every group and every design you make is not going to sell.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to make sure that you develop relationships that with people that invest into your brand and that you're investing into their retail establishment, so that you guys can grow together. So this season might be off, but next season you're making buku. And then, maybe 3 seasons you sell, and 1 season you have a kind of lukewarm season. You don't want the guy that's like, okay, I'm giving you a demo, and if you don't hit every time, you're out the door. You want to get that guy that's going to be like Berry Gordy, or I'm going to cultivate you, I'm going to groom you, I'm going to stay with you, and I'm going to believe in you. You know what I mean? Develops a real act. And that's the same thing in fashion. You want that. That's hard to find now. That's obsolete.
Because here today.
Today it's
tomorrow.
obsolete,
Yeah,
but then, we were able to build those relationships with key retailers, and that's why we didn't go in department stores. And then at a certain point, we knew we had to, because even most of those image maker stores we were in didn't have good credit. So we were playing a 90-10 game, meaning 90% of our retailers were like a hit or miss. Most of them paid, but some guys had to pay their rent and had to say, I can't pay you this month. We can't stay in business like that. So those are the things we learned through time, and we ended up selling some department stores and Foot Lockers and Foot Actions and guys like that. But there were tricks and ways we did that without compromising our souls.
Would you say that was the mama I made it moment when you were getting into those stores, or were there any moments that might have been bigger than that?
I think I've had a lot of those moments,
Right.
that summed up me being here. I can't say it was one. That was definitely one. That was the first. It probably wasn't the first. The first was audio too.
Right.
And then it was just like, you have little triumphs and big triumphs, but they all make now. So, another one would be Mike in the ring.
Got the shirt on.
I wanted to get it. That's actually what I wanted to get into next.
This was another one, and I think that was huge for me, just because he was Mike Tyson and he was from Brooklyn and he was a heavyweight and he represented the underdog and a lot of other things. So that was a surreal moment, him coming out in the ring wearing our stuff and Beavis and Butthead.
Yep,
that was another one, the
that.
album cover. And I remember Tracy Jordan, at the time, she was at Motown Cafe. She was one of the big wigs there, and she called me and she was working on the project, and she said, she had to get clearance or something. And I'm like, for what? And she's like,
right.
Beavis and Butthead. And I was like, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
And I was actually going to ask you about both those moments, but you were traveling to the West Coast during this period of time.
I was doing a lot of production out there.
And you talk about meeting Mike Tyson. Can you just kind of talk about that moment? Because you were in Vegas, right?
Yeah, I was in Vegas. It was after he came home, and he was, I think I was with Naughty by Nature and Shakim, and they were going to his house for a barbecue. And so I went, and we were in the back, and his sister Jackie said, I want you to meet somebody. And she brought me over and I met him, and he said, wow, he was a fan. So that was surreal, and he said, oh my gosh, Tupac and Tretch and all these guys, they used to come up and they used to talk about you and your wares and I feel like I know you. So we had a good conversation. And when I went back to the office in New York, I sent a box of stuff to him. And then I remember getting a call like a month later, maybe, and it was from his management, and they wanted to know where I was with Walkaway. And I was getting ready to do a licensing deal at that time, and they said, well, before you do that deal, he's gonna be fighting in Philadelphia. Come down and talk to us. So that started the conversation for working with Mike in merchandising and stuff like that.
And that was one of those moments.
Yeah, that was a good moment. Yeah.
Because
You still get that smile, so
'cause-
you can still see like we all just had those moments that we look back over and we like, wow.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and it still has that same effect that, maybe not to the same degree, but it still has that effect to you like, wow, it's just that aha moment.
Yeah, definitely.
But that was huge though, because as far as boxing, you only had like Everlast.
Right.
Everlast was kind
Right.
of like the only
Before
name
that,
you
it
would
was
see.
all sports brands, and
Yeah.
so that was the first. We were the first fashion brand.
Yeah, we need to get Deontay Wilder in that walk away.
Make it happen.
Make it happen.
We did.
For real.
Alright,
Be a
let's
bird.
go.
Like,
Let's go.
Be a
Be a
big
bird.
happen.
Exactly. What happened first? I don't remember in your timeline, but I do remember the Mike Tyson. But then also, you spoke about product placement, your MTV raps, and even having product placement there. Can you just talk about even that experience as well with
your MTV raps?
right? Well, just product.
Oh yeah, product placement.
Mhm.
Yeah. So what happened was, I guess it's hip hop and fashion and urban fashion started blowing up. They started seeing that we were getting a lot of visibilities in movies and in album, in fact, just particularly in videos. And I got first it came from MTV, and then I got one from BET, and they were letters that said that they were not going to. That's when you started seeing the blur happen.
Yeah.
That happened after that. They just said they were not going to like show any of my stuff anymore unless I started talking to them about paying them. And so that's what happened. And then after that, it wasn't just me. They just started blurring all logos after that. So it just became a process. But I think me and Carl Canal probably covered a lot of that ground.
Yeah. I'll kick that
What year was that when that started happening? Because the reason I ask is because you get a sense where you fall out of love with the whole gaming part of the industry, where it started changing from the earlier years when it was custom, creative, and then now you know how it is when you start getting corporations involvement, and then as Dane put it, culture vultures start coming in and start trying to get rich off the clothing line, etc. I guess the question is when did that kind of start changing for you? And
For me, I think it was an evolutionary process. I think what happens is you get in. I started probably a little past his age, so I was so green. And I think when you're green, you're disillusioned about what it really is. And so, you think everyone's nice, and you think that this is just going to be so much fun. And I think in the beginning it was, because I was really controlling my own destiny with custom. And it was really about relationships more than anything. You know what I mean? And just feeling good when somebody walked out. It's probably like when you bake. It's like when it feels good to your soul when you see people like genuinely they put on something and they feel good, But, I still had that in a different sense. Like I remember walking down the street. I remember the first time I saw somebody wearing Walkerwear and that I didn't know that bought it in the store. And that felt just as good, but, the difference is it starts these layers of separations between, the corporate establishment, which always comes into play as you grow. And those are things you have to tackle. I think if I was a little more prepared and had a lot more experience and some mentors, which I had no mentors, at that time, I'll be honest, I always talk about that now. Like, I feel like African American Latinos, and we need to be taught to have mentors as early as possible. That's something that other cultures do. And I think some of us do, but not enough of us. And there was no one that I had till everything was trial and error. So imagine all those trial and errors adding up over the years. It just took a wear and tear on me. And at the same time, every creative form, I don't care if it's fashion, film, music, every time corporate America figures out how to dilute it, how to actually exploit it, they dilute it, the creative process. And so then there are very few forms of the creative process left standing as it becomes a big business. And that's what I watched happen. And so that part was disheartening for me because it was personal, because I started from the creative element. And that's what I was in love with. So I'm not one of those people I've assigned, I'm probably not going to be the next Steve Jobs in terms of being that rich, but I'm rich in my soul. I love what I do. I wake up every morning to my dreams and I get to live it and I have a good life. So I'm cool with that. You know what I mean? That's more important. Now, if I get the Steve Jobs money with it, I'll take it. You know what I mean? I'll take it. But,
So you took a break. You stepped
Yeah.
away
I
from
stepped
it.
away from
what
it
this is,
because I
98?
needed that for my soul. It just became to be like this beast that I hated. I remember going to Magic one year, and Magic is this huge trade show, was this huge trade show that existed. That was like the end all be all if you wanted to be in fashion. It was 2 times a year, and it was the Men's Apparel Guild show where people would come from all over the world, all the retailers. And I just remember it starting out with, you could hear a pin drop at that show. And then I remember coming one year and it looked like, you guys remember Freaknik?
Oh, come
It
on.
went
We're from the South.
It went from pin drop to Freaknik.
It was Freaknik on steroids. And I mean,
At the trade
no
show.
one
At
was
the trade show.
business. Everybody was trying to
Partying.
get free clothes, and you got girls walking around naked, and I was just like, I'm done.
Wow.
I'm done. I'm checking out.
Game change.
So 98, 99, you closed down.
I went
Walk Around.
and I went and worked with Russell. First I took, I think I did costume wardrobing, as I remember. I did an independent movie called King of Hearts. I always wanted to do costume wardrobing. I tried that. Then after I did that, I went to, on tour with Erykah Badu. I did the Lilith Fair tour and I did her merchandising for a summer. That was one of the best, the most fun experiences I had. I had a lot of fun on that. It was all women. Sarah McLachlan, Dixie Chicks, Michelle and the cello. It was a lot of really cool women, and we traveled the West Coast, and so that was really nice, and it was a really nice tour. They hooked it up. But I did that, and then I came back and was like, okay, and I took a job with Russell at Fat Farm. I was a VP there and handled all his licensing, for a year. And then I left there and went and did a women's division for And One. And then after that, I just said, you know what? I'm picking up a camera and I'm going to start recording what's going on in fashion, because I saw the beginning of the end happening with urban fashion. And I wanted to show and start, my original idea was to show the history of the rise and fall. In the rise, actually, I didn't actually know for sure the fall was coming. But, I just ended up getting over 100 hours of footage with, everybody from Russell to Puffy to Rockaware and Dame and everybody just talking about it. So it was dope.
So the creative spirit was still alive, though.
I was just using it. I was still in love with it. I just didn't want to be in it. What I didn't want to do is have someone else tell our story and not have it. So I documented it.
Yeah, and let's talk about that, because just from some of the readings, you're working on a film series, and you're going to release some of this footage that you captured. Can you kind of talk about that piece?
Sure. So I'm working on a fashion film bio series, and it's basically going to be about these. It's basically like an Unsung meets 30 for 30, but for fashion designers.
Oh, that's nice.
And it's it's right now in the finishing touches, but it will be 2016. Look for it.
We ready.
I'm ready for it.
Yeah. Anything else, BG? Because we done kept you long enough.
No, it's all good.
You just celebrated the 25th anniversary of Walkaware.
Yep.
So
Last year was really good for us.
Back then when you started, did you project to have a
Heck
25th?
no.
25th anniversary. But you're back though. The brand is I guess
I am
back
so
would be-
thankful. I have so much love and I feel it. So I'm thankful.
So is your vision any different, or have you expanded the vision?
I think
at this
wisdom
second
has
phase
come
now?
into the second phase. I'm not really, like I said, I'm so into service and adding value right now to the world. I think we need it. as many ways we can get it because we're so depleted with love and on so many levels. So just really adding to the culture and not subtracting. That's my goal. With Walkaware, the canvas I came back on for the fashion part of it. The fashion is great, and it's honestly so that I can just paint and be creative. But really it's to be connected with guys like you and to really have a conversation with the culture, to be able to really further ignite the spirit of entrepreneurship and to teach and help future entrepreneurs discover their genius. And so, you know, even in my infrastructure, I tell all of the people that are working with me now, they're brands. While you're here, you need to be branding yourself and figuring out your brand so that you can leave the nest one day and you've taken all this networking and you can utilize it, empower yourself. And and I want to help them do that. So I'm doing it as many ways as I can. And I'm doing it through the canvas of social media with my Walker Gyms. And then I have a consulting company, a Walker Group, and that gets paid and we do that there. But Walker Gyms is really just to help the people that can't necessarily afford to hire me, but maybe they get something off that gym and then they go Google it. And figure it out if they really want it.
And they're blessings to those Walker Gyms are really blessing us personally. I can speak to that, getting a lot of confirmation to what it is that we're doing and building brand and marketing and promoting and doing those different things. So,
and I take
don't
away
stop.
Don't stop. I also take away because the marketing side of me and just paying attention, they're short. They're not long, and they're just short, straight to the point gyms that you can look at on a daily basis, and they 20 seconds long, some of them. And they're real. They're passionate too.
Thank you. You could look for those too. We're going to be expanding that platform this year. So I'll actually be having some online workshop classes this year. So, you know, we did them about a year ago, but they'll be expanding on a regular basis this year. So I'm excited about that.
Well, anything else, BG?
Yeah, let's get out. Let's get up. I think we've given the people enough free lunch for today because it's been a lot of gems that have been dropped today in this interview. We're so appreciative.
Thank you.
For the family.
BK
is in the building. We had an opportunity to go to the bakery.
Talk about the bakery. Yeah, talk about that real fast.
Talk about the bakery.
And this is my sister here. So we don't even live too far from each other, but the bakery is somewhere I frequent. So it's like, if you guys don't know about the bakery, you're about to. I'm gonna let her tell you about the bakery. But besides that, like for real, I would say the brownie. I would say
the chocolate chip cookie.
The chocolate chip cookie. I love the peanut butter. I mean, I love everything there, but the snickerdoodles, they got it going on. So you have to go by there if you're not missing it. And it's the culture Saturdays, the music, everything. Yeah. So support.
You have to support. And we were just talking about that today, me and BG, how we actually met Combat Jack and Combat Jill at A3C
in Atlanta
earlier
this year.
And we were just talking about how from that experience, how we just kept trying to just stay in contact, reach out, follow them on Instagram. And that's actually, April, how we started just following you even more and reaching out, because it was like, man, it's just this family kind of feel. And then going to the bakery and just sitting there and just seeing just the atmosphere. It's a neighborhood feel. It's the little girl came in. She knew to sit down and do her homework. And me and BG is like, man, this just feels like home. And just the service, it's really genuine and authentic. And it's actually, in my opinion, just that atmosphere and that energy that's missed just throughout America. That energy is real.
I appreciate that so much.
So talk a little bit about the bakery.
Just a little bit. I think what expresses what the bakery on Bergen is about is our hashtag is that we're more than a bakery.
Right.
And that's true.
So, yes. So, and again, I keep on saying this. I think that the baked items and goods are the proverbial icing on the cake.
Mm-hmm.
So, we do other things. We do, workshops. We do classes. We do a math and baking class where students learn about fractions and conversions and measurement.
Oh, wow.
Because there's so much math in baking. And my background is in private tutoring and student life coaching.
Oh, wow.
So, and my specialty is math. And it's my partner who's really the person who has all the culinary background. So she's a trained French pastry chef. She comes from a very just amazing background with regard to the baked items. So I bake a few things, but most of the credit should go to Martine in terms of what you actually end up eating. So that's really it. I mean, that's why I think it's much more than just, you come in and get in the baked good.
Yeah.
It's a way of life. And and like I was saying, you could definitely just feel the energy when you walk through the door. And then you just become a part of the whole experience and just the whole family almost. You're like, you do. And so here's an idea. You thought about having, you say you do the whole mathematics kind of deal and the whole measurement.
Yes.
Valentine's is coming up. Offer a few classes where partners.
Thought about that. We're actually we do a first Saturday event. So every first Saturday out of the month, we have a DJ and food specials, and it's just a time to hang out. So we are going to do something for Valentine's Day and also for the Chinese New Year, the Lunar New Year.
Nice.
So, that's a good idea. We'll see.
Yeah, make it happen.
It's fun.
That'll make it easy for guys like us to get points.
And there's always
points.
The other thing is that there's always beautiful women at the
always.
So
should I say that on the mic?
You might get in trouble. She'll let her say it for us.
Yeah. Exactly.
So you never know who you might meet. It's a nice hangout spot also.
It is.
It's a great spot. So we enjoyed it. And a lot of options. Vegan options as well. I had the vegan cookie, so that was great.
And even with the vegan, we carry things all the time that are vegan, but if you want something special order, we can do basically anything. Martine might kill me for saying anything, but anything that Martine can do.
Right. How long have y'all been in? How long?
Just a little over a year.
Okay, so it has been a year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes. We reached our year mark. I know it's like that statistics. Okay, we got through that first statistic about businesses, right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So yes.
So to our listeners, if you're ever in the city, definitely stop by the bakery on
740 Bergen Street between Washington and Underhill in Brooklyn.
Definitely. Easy to find.
Thank you.
This is what we came to the city for, and this is what the city does. It's inspirational. We'll take this. We'll keep climbing with the stuff that we gained here. We're gonna give you the opportunity though, April, to just kind of get back on the mic and let the people know how they can, connect with you and take advantage of some of those Walker gems and all that type of stuff. So
definitely. And then,
connect with me at walkerwear.com. Check out what we have. And you can now connect on Walkerwear. We have a Walker Gems page, and that'll be expanding to our online courses. But follow me at I am April Walker if you want my daily Walker Gems, #Walker Gems, and you can see like maybe 600 of them. You can also check them out on YouTube. Mm-hmm. So just check us out. We have something for you, and I would love for you to be a part of our tribe vibe.
And walkerwear.com. Yeah. Go by their shop, buy some stuff.
Definitely.
There you go. Support the culture.
BG, how can the people reach us?
FreeLunchPodcast.com for podcasts and blogs. Also for your commentary, let us know what you think on Twitter, FreeLunchPodC. Also check for our pictures and videos on Instagram, FreeLunch Podcast, and for our video interview versions, YouTube, FreeLunch TV.
This is the FreeLunch Podcast, home to the New South movement. I am Tight, and we got the main man BG with us. And we out of here. Peace.